So, what is competence interviewing? When you're in an interview situation, the interviewer is basically assessing whether you have what it takes to fulfill the role. And this is a technique that is designed to elicit evidence from you on whether you can do the job. So it's not just about telling them what you did. You need to talk about how you did it, but most importantly, talk about the value that you brought and how that positively impacted the business by giving quantifiable results. It's a simple premise that past behavior is a really good predictor of future behavior. So if you can articulate in an interview situation that you've had a positive impact on a business and you've given quantifiable results, it's reasonable for the interviewer to think, well, they can replicate that and help me in my business. So as I said, the STAR method is a framework that you can use to help you frame your answers. So if we look at the different components, we have situation. So this is where you're setting the scene. What's the situation within the organization? What are their challenges? Where are they at in their journey? You're describing the context and the background. Then you can talk about the task. So what was your mandate? What were you brought in to do? What were you asked to deliver? And then how did you go about it? What did you do? And then finally, you want to share the results. So that's a quantified outcome, and that's where you're really demonstrating value. Just a quick one on that, when you're talking about the result, you don't want to say something like, we improved performance. It really doesn't say anything. The sort of statements you need to be making are, EBITDA margins improved from 12 to 17%, which resulted in a 3.2 million increase in net operating profit. So how can you build your evidence bank? Really important to study the job spec, dissect it. More often than not, the job description will highlight what competencies the interviewer is looking for. Are they going on an M&A journey? Are they looking at someone to bring in operational efficiency? Are they looking to raise funds? So when you've looked at the job description, make a list of the competencies that this business is looking for in their future CFO. If you're working with a search firm, they'll be great to provide some context, so you can put your list together. Then think about your career, look at your resume, what role, each role, what did you do? Why did you do it? How did you do it? And what was the outcome? And then start compiling this evidence that you can share as insight during the interview. Create an audit, think about your strengths, ask colleagues, what are my strengths? Where am I most efficient? What are my competencies? And then for each of those competencies, form your STAR. So prepare it with the situation, the task, the action, and the result with facts and figures. So the three pillars of competency, I think I've kind of alluded to this somewhat, and I'm going to keep laboring the point because I think it's really important. The good news is you're all finance leaders and CFOs, so you're dealing with numbers on the day-to-day. It's how you kind of, measure things. But numbers tell the story of your impact. It's no different in an interview scenario. Did you grow revenue? Did you save costs? Were there efficiency gains? Did you improve margins? That's really important to demonstrate your value. As a CFO, if I'm a business leader, I'm a CEO or a business owner, I want to know that my CFO is going to be able to demonstrate ownership. I want to know what you led. I want to know the decisions you made and how did that impact the company? What were the outcomes? It's important to make the point, and highlight your achievements. I'll talk a little bit about using I versus we later because it is important to show that you can collaborate as well. But it's important to demonstrate ownership. And then as a CFO, you're working cross-functionally with other areas of the business. So how have you collaborated with sales, marketing, manufacturing? Being able to demonstrate those business partnering skills is really important as well. So they're the three pillars that we think are important when you're demonstrating your competency as a CFO.